Okay, I think we'll kick off. Hi everyone, and thanks so much for taking the time to join us at cuEngage today. This session will focus on the digital credit union. We're thrilled to have Andrew Price, Senior Vice President of International Advocacy for the World Council of Credit Unions, kick off this session where he will discuss Challenge 2025 and some strong examples of credit unions around the globe embracing digital. And then we're delighted to hand over to Mark Ryan from Core Credit Union, who will talk about their journey in creating the digital credit union, including how to help members adapt to online and changing the purpose of the branch. A gentle reminder, can you ensure your mics are muted throughout the session? And if you have any questions for Andrew or Mark, pop them into the chat bar and we will cover these at the end with the Q&A. And I'll now pass over to Andrew. Thank you. Andrew, can you unmute your microphone? Sorry, thank you.
There we go. Sorry about, I'm still making that mistake on the Zoom. Apologize for that. Thank you, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here with you today. I'm Andy Price, the Senior Vice President of Advocacy and General Counsel with the World Council of Credit Unions. We're the trade association for credit unions that works all over the world. We have 118 countries as our members, which represents about 86,000 credit unions worldwide. And almost 375 million members as well. The Irish League of Credit Unions there is one of our members, as well as ABCUL, who represents United Kingdom, British credit unions over there as well. And we also have our conference in Glasgow, Scotland this year. So people in this area are very dear to us. The credit unions there are fantastic. By the way, so it's a real pleasure to be with you today. And I'm really excited to be here talking to you about the digital credit union. Digitalization is a real big focus of World Council of Credit Unions. And so this issue is quite important to us. It's quite important to our industry. And to give you a little bit of background, back in 2014, the World Council had a grow, which was focused on growing our membership. We had set a goal in 2014 to reach 260 million members, and our timeline was 2020 to reach that goal. And what happened is we actually reached that goal in 3 years. Into 2017, we blew past the 260 million. And if you notice, at the beginning, I said we're at 375 million members now. But what we did is we actually went back and started looking at that data to see, well, where is that growth coming from, and what's driving that growth. And what we quickly realized is that the growth was not even among all countries. We had some countries that were not growing, while others were growing quite rapidly. And so what we observed really is that those systems that were growing more rapidly were those that offered their core services via online and mobile channels, and had engaged in this process of embracing technology as well. And so we changed our goal, Ren, then to focus not necessarily on the growth of memberships, but to focus on the digitalization, because we realize those that are embracing the technology, those are offering services where their members want it and via the channels that they want it, are the ones that are really growing. And so we've tied that concept of digitalization to the ability of the credit union to grow. And so now our goal is the digitalization of the entire global credit union system by 2025, and that's what we focused on. And so when you see Challenge 2025, that's kind of our mission, which focuses a lot on this. And we do a lot of work in this area, not only with the international standard setters. We also have projects that we have in various countries that help develop some of the tools that are helping credit unions to move on. And there's a lot more efforts beyond World Council that are going on, and you guys know this from your own operations. So I'm going to spend a quick little time, kind of walking you through kind of how we measure that digitalization. And you'll see in your screen here, I kind of got the four principles that we look at, and I'll run through these quickly because I want to get to some examples where the rubber meets the road. There's some real digitalization examples around the world because I think they're fascinating. What's going on with all the technology. Number one, do you offer the core services through digital channels, online or mobile, offering services where your member wants them, the convenience that the digital offers, the ability to have online payments, online loan servicing, your digital back office processing. Those are the things we look at to see, if you're digitalizing. Shared platforms. Are you connecting your credit union to a shared payment system that allows for mobile payments, or integration with the national payment scheme? And a lot of these things allow you to share expertise, allow you to have extended points of services, alliances with other people, and a lot of this really speaks to your ability to scale up, to get those economies of scale, if you will, through the use of the technology. So those shared platforms is really kind of a key that allows a lot of credit unions to embrace digitalization. The second component is really your risk management aspect, your cybersecurity, your data protection, implementation of a cybersecurity system that complies with kind of your national regulations as well. And the ability to protect your members' identity, and your consumers from digital attacks and intrusion. Very important when you get into digitalization. There in the EU, you have DORA, the Directive on Operational Resilience, that's coming down. That's going to probably impose some new requirements there as well. Finally, data analytics. Allowing feedback in your design so that you're tailoring your offerings to what your members do. And more importantly, there your ability. What this really allows you to do is a lot of proactive financial counseling that can go on. Employing the data analytics to determine additional service offerings that you might want to offer to your members, and helping to identify those that need financial literacy or counseling services. And this plays right into credit unions are member owned. We serve our members. We do a lot of this. Inherently way better than the banks do, by the way. So yeah, so there's kind of at a high level, our focus on it. But what I'd kind of like to do now, and we can go to the next slide, is kind of walk you through some examples of digitalization where this is playing out in the field, and happening worldwide. And I think what's fascinating that's going on right now is in Ukraine. How they're embracing digitalization even right now during the conflict. And at World Council, we've had a USAID, is a government-funded project there, which was designed to help a lot of the credit unions engage in agricultural lending. That project's been going on for 5 years. I've been there, I think, 7 times myself. And have recently, I'm still in contact with the National Bank of Ukraine, who's now their regulator now, and with our people who are working on the project. And when I first went there, one of the credit unions I visited, I went out there, and their computer that they were using to serve their members was a DOS-based system. They didn't even have Windows 95. For what they were operating, and the person who was working on their core that they hired to do their interest calculations was a guy out of Russia that used to do missile ballistic calculations for the government. He was very good at math, but he was also like 90 years old, and I was a little, worried about his age, and I'm like, well, what happens if he doesn't want to work anymore? But that just showed you how kind of rudimentary and operating that DOS-based system that made it difficult for them to tap into a lot of the programs, payment system, those kind of things that they really needed to do. And not all of the system was like that, but a lot of credit unions, particularly those that were rural, were not embracing digitalization. What's happening now in my conversations with the EU as we're talking about how do we manage this going on during the conflict where you've got all kinds of security issues, credit unions perhaps that are being destroyed. How are we going to get them running now and hopefully quickly post-crisis as well? And what's the conversations are there? It's quickly turning to digital is going to be the solution. To rebuild a credit union there, it's going to take time to do that. Get the resources in, build your branches back, your offices back. Digitalization is something that's quickly being recognized as, hey, we can use this technology and get somebody open very quickly, right? You could have an online credit union. You have an iPad and hey, let's get it running. And there's tremendous amounts of advantages to that, the ability to monitor by the regulator, by the self-regulatory organizations that are there, and even just to get the credit union back open and still lending. By the way, credit unions in the Ukraine are still lending to this day. It's planting season there. A lot of these agricultural regions, they're trying to plant their crops. God bless them, they're in the middle of a crisis. It's incredible what credit unions can do. But the nice thing about it is what we're seeing there is that embrace of digitalization, even during the midst of a crisis, looking at the tools that can be used. They're talking about using blockchain technology there. It's fascinating what's going on, I think, during the middle of a crisis, and wonderful too, because it's going to really set them up for the future. Lord willing, we can get through the conflict as well. So it's a really, really good example of a system embracing digitalization. Let me switch to another example too, to give you a kind of a different take on it. In Kenya, we've been doing a lot of work there in a project, and some of the technological techniques that they're using are just fascinating. It's frankly incredible to me when you see a lot of these things that are in use. One of the things that they do really neat there is the use of drones in a lot of their agricultural lending. And so how that works is a farmer comes in, wanting to get a loan to help build with their crops. They use drones throughout the process, underwriting. They will send a drone out to map your land to see, hey, is that land there? Is it viable? Is there anything growing? What's in the region? And a lot of that technology also taps into, analytics. Hey, is this a crop that can be grown there? Is it going to be profitable? And so they use that not only during the underwriting stage, but they also use the drones during the loan monitoring stage to go out and see, hey, are the crops, have they been planted? Are they growing? Has there been a flood in the area? Did it get destroyed? And so the risk mitigation use of that, and all of it is hooked into an app, and it's fascinating how they're using that stuff to help them reduce the losses in their portfolio, and they've been quite successful with doing it. And so I think that's a different kind of take on digitization that you might not kind of think through from just sitting here. I think using drones, it blows my mind to see that happening. But another and a little bit different take on this. Another example is in Colombia. We piloted, we've developed. We now have this tool. It's field officer banking tool that we call. And so the take on the digitization there is the use of the technology to get to those people who may not have access to internet or access to a cell phone or any technology at all. How do you get these people connected? And so it's a kind of a concept of agent banking. And what we did there is we would actually send people out on motorcycles with iPads and take them to those communities that were not connected to the internet. And they would do the banking transactions for them. They would allow them to make deposits. They would distribute loan proceeds, allow them to do any transactions that they needed to do, vis-a-vis the officer going out on a motorcycle, believe it or not, with an iPad to help connect them to the office system. We had to do a lot of work on this. You don't want somebody on a motorcycle with a big bag of cash. So what you would do is you would time up kind of taking in deposits and dispersing loans and make it so that person on the motorcycle, the iPad wasn't at risk at carrying a big bag of cash around. But a lot of those things went into it. But the use of the technology there and the methodology on how you can help people who don't have access to your system, which is a big problem, frankly, around the world. To be connected, to be able to take advantage of the digitization. That was something that we worked on around the world. And so my next example, I'll turn to Brazil, which is a very interesting model if you ever want to look at their system. And it's a really good example of their coming together to use the shared platforms as well. The way the model works in Brazil is you have a couple, three or four kind of big systems, your Sicobis of the world. But how that really works is you really have kind of one back office that does all of the technology work. All of the core services are provided there, so a lot of the accounting, some of the reporting. But you have individual credit unions who are out, scattered around the country as well. They all use kind of the same marketing. So if you're affiliated with Sicredi, you see on the door Sicredi Credit Union, although that may be its own separate credit union sitting there. A lot of the credit unions look the same, but they gain those efficiencies by having that one kind of centralized office to do a lot of the back office work for them. And so it's fascinating how they've set up kind of these central credit unions, which allows them to get a lot of the economies of scale, efficiencies in the system, and their system is growing remarkably fast. A little aside to that, though, one of the things they've really done successful is to focus on youth, and I'm getting a little sidetracked on digitalization, but I think it's very much connected. And the reason they do that is because they know, that's where the growth is. You need to get the youth involved at an early age. That makes them kind of members for life. It helps them understand, the difference in the cooperative model and the benefits of it. But as far as digitization, the thing that's really neat is they start tailoring their products and services to where the youth are much more apt to start using the technology, using different apps, they do all kinds of things. I don't even know what they do. But their focus on that allows them to really kind of develop their products and services on the next generation that's coming in, and have their technology really tailored for use for that audience. And they've been very successful at it, and it's helping their credit union system grow tremendously. Not only the shared services, the sharing of platforms, but also their ability to embrace digitalization, and their system is growing very rapidly. Well, so I think I've run you through a bunch of different examples, kind of giving you our high-level approach from WOCCU. Thank you for having me here today. I will stick around for some questions. I'm happy to discuss anything on there, and my email contact is on there. Feel free to email me anytime that you would like. I am based in Washington, D.C., so apologize with the time difference if I don't respond quickly, but I will get back to you. So thank you.
Thanks very much, Andrew. That was great. It's great to hear some examples. I love the example of the drones to check the agricultural land. That's pretty cool. Thanks. So now I'll pass over to Mark to take us through their concept of the digital credit union at core. Thank you.
Thanks, Rebecca. Thanks, Andrew. I'm just going to get my slides up there. So can everybody see my slides there?
Yeah.
All right, great. So yeah, I'm just going to go through what we did in terms of the digital credit union and the process that was involved in that. I suppose the first thing I want to actually point out is what the digital credit union means for core. Because there could be different perceptions of what digital credit union actually means. And for us, it was about providing as many of our products and services in a digital or electronic format. We started this process in 2017 with that aim, which was to look at all of our processes and see how many of those processes that we could provide a digital alternative to our members. This was everything from opening an account, taking a loan, and even from our members talking to us. One thing to point out, though, that this is not about replacing our manual processes. It's about providing our members with an alternative method to enable them to transact and interact with us. So some examples that people are probably aware of, but members can now open accounts with us 24/7 in a fully digital format. The full loan process from applying to signing to drawdown can all now be done in a completely digital format as well. So the next thing I suppose is like what drove us, or why did we decide to do this? So one of the main factors was our strategy. So the strategic plan that was developed for 2018-2022 included a big part on pursuing digital alternatives to our services. It's part of our long-term strategy of providing these services for our members, and not just digital services, but also self-service, where the member would do a lot of the process themselves. The other reason that we looked at doing it was efficiencies. Like, digital processes are faster than manual ones. These efficiencies do ultimately lead to cost savings, but the other thing that can happen is the digital processes can also be automated. Our competitors, all of our competitors at the time, were offering their products and their services in a digital format. So if we wanted to compete with them, we needed to be able to provide those services and those products in a digital format as well. And the final reason why we did it was expectation. Like, our members wanted a digital service, our competitors were providing it, and if we didn't provide it, our members would just go elsewhere. So one of the things is, like, where do we start on this process? So the first thing that we did was a gap analysis. So we listed all of the different processes that members could actually do in the offices, and we then asked ourselves, like, well, is there a digital option available? And if not, like, how do we go about doing that? The initial gap analysis showed that there was about 90 processes being performed in the offices, which kind of shocked me, but there is about 90 different processes that we do anyway. Some other credit unions might be more, some might be less. But these would, everything from being able to lodge, to withdraw, to issue loans, to open accounts. But it was also the different methods of doing this. So like, lodging cash and lodging a check is not the same process. So these were the different processes that we identified. This is just a sample of the gap analysis that we did. I have given the full template that we developed over to Wellington, and I'm more than happy for that to be shared out. If you go through some of this is just some of the withdrawals that we did. So you can see here, one of them was withdraw shares by cash. It's available at the counter. It's not available at the online. Was it possible? Well, no, it's not possible to withdraw shares by cash online. So yeah, we didn't look for a solution. Some of the other processes are there as well. But one of the things that kind of came up was, it wasn't necessarily that we were missing a solution to some of these gap analysis. It was actually just our actual internal rules stopped us doing it. So we had an internal rule that members couldn't withdraw shares or stamps online. So look, the simple way for us to actually close off that gap was we changed our rules, and then we allowed members to withdraw those shares. What were, I suppose, some of the big wins that actually closed off a lot of the gaps? CU Online Plus was a huge win for us. It closed off so many gaps because it gave the members the functionality that was missing from the old app. So The old app, basically all you could do was look at your account while you couldn't really do too much else. But CU Online now offers all the functionality that members can use. They can apply for loans, they can take out current accounts with us, they can lodge money, they can withdraw money. Just some of the reviews that we've had back on it. The other big win then was CU Mobile. Our members are interacting with us on mobile phones. So it was really was key that we had a mobile platform that had the same functionality as the web platform. And I'm delighted to say that the CU Mobile does have all the functionality that the web platform actually has. So that's how our members are contacting us and logging in and applying for our services and our products. The other big win then was the digital onboarding. Members now can open their accounts whenever they want. They're not restricted by our opening hours. So yeah, they can apply to open an account with us at, I don't know, 10 o'clock at night from the comfort of their home. And it's a fully digital process. So there's no need for any manual process. Sorry about that. It's a fully digital process, so yeah, they can go through that. The other thing that we introduced was a web chat. So this is on our brochure website, members can ask us general questions about the credit unions and its products and its services. It's all managed through our backend through Zendesk. So all of the actual chat that we have with our members is recorded there, so we can be reviewed and see what sort of questions members are actually asking us. I believe that Wellington are developing this functionality within CU Online Plus, which will be a huge benefit again because it'll allow us to go into a lot more personal detail with the member. So I suppose what are the results been so far? So this is consistent. About 30% of our new members since we've introduced this nearly every month are done through the online platform. So it's our busiest office in terms of how our members join. We have 5 other branches. So the biggest share of those is through our digital platform. We expect this to rise as well because we have a schools program that we do and where kids save every week with us. That's kind of got suspended there for the last 2 years due to COVID. But with COVID restrictions now gone, we're back out in the schools and we're transacting again, and we're going to get the primary schools accounts opened on the juvenile onboarding. So we do expect this 30% to rise quite dramatically. About 20% of our loans are being fully processed on CU Online. So what I mean by that is the member has applied for the loan, it's the member's signing for the loan online, and it's being issued online. So there's no need for the member to come into us to actually do anything. It's a full end-to-end process. That would be higher, but we actually have a lot of people, what they're doing is they're applying for the loan, but because they want either part of the loan in cash or all of the loan in cash, they then go into the office to collect it. But look, it's a great facility there that the members can actually apply for a loan whenever they're free to do so. The other thing about it is, I suppose, given these digital alternatives, is our transaction volume. So 80% of our total transactions now are in an electronic or a digital format. This is pretty skyrocketed since COVID came in. So in 2019, this was about 60% of our transactions. So when COVID restrictions came in, naturally enough, our members moved to a digital or electronic method to transact with us. But it hasn't come down. So this is the last couple of months here. We're out of restrictions and we're still on at about 80% of our total transactions are online. So if we go back here to 2020, there February and March, it was in and around 60%. So yeah, we don't see that actually going back. So what's next for us then? So we've recently piloted in one of our offices the ability for members to make online appointments with us. Why we've introduced this is to deal with current accounts. Everyone's aware the two large banks are leaving, so this is a lot of people are looking for an alternative provider. So we want to give our members the sufficient time to actually go through this process and open their current account with us. After the pilot on that, we will actually roll this out to all of our offices, and we'll offer a Teams version of this where we can talk like we are now with our members about opening a current account. And the other thing that we're doing at the moment is tablets in the offices. So the reason why we're doing this is when somebody comes in to actually open an account, we're going to now open the account on the digital onboarding platform. It'll be it'll be an assisted help with the members to guide them through the process if it's needed. And but the advantage of that is that there's no need for us to input any data on Scion then. So the way the onboarding platform works is once it's been accepted, it populates Scion. So there's no need for us to do any manual inputs. And the other thing then that we're looking at is automation. So I kind of highlighted about our loans online. We're actually trialing the CRIF decision as a service process. That's going quite well in terms of the decision as a service will make a recommended decision on the loan application. I know that Wellington have informed me that it is possible now that once the decision as a service has made the decision, and if that decision is to approve the loan, it is possible that Scion can automatically pay out that loan. So that will be our next our next big thing, which is the full automation of from end to end of our loan process. So where do we see the office of the future? So as I did say, like in 2019, 60% of our transactions were electronic. Now that's 80%. COVID accelerated this change, but I can't see the change going back. I think members will still transact online or digitally. But the thing about it is our footfall is still quite high. So while our office transactions are dropping, people are still coming into us. So the reason they're actually coming into us is to ask about questions. So they're asking questions, they're asking about our services, they're taking out our products and our services, they're opening accounts, current accounts, everything that we kind of offer. So we're migrating away from a transactional service, a transactional office to a service office where our members are actually coming in to discuss things with us. So yeah, we're moving away from queuing, and actually what we're doing is providing more seating where we can sit down and have a talk with people. So these are images from our newest office down in Dunleary. So you can see here there is absolutely loads of seating where people can sit down and we can have a chat with them. There's also the private interview rooms there as well if it's something that would need some privacy. For us, this is a key selling point. We'll provide the digital channels for our products and our services, but we're also always going to be there face to face. It's a source of new business for us, and to me it's a key differentiator. So members will always have the opportunity to come into us and talk to us and transact if they still want to transact with us in the counter. We're not going away from that, but that's where we see our business going into the future. Yeah, and as I said, these are images from our new Dunleary branch, which we opened there in December. And that's everything from me. So thanks a lot. So if anyone have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them.
Thanks very much, Mark. That was great. As Mark mentioned, his gap analysis, he's kindly provided his gap analysis for Core Credit Union as a template. So I will send that out in the follow-ups this afternoon for anyone to refer to. If anyone has any questions, feel free to unmute your microphone or pop it into the chat bar. There's one question for Mark at the minute Roisin asks, can I ask, do you allow juvenile or under 18s to open new accounts online?
We do, yes, but it's the parents that wouldn't generally open it for them. So it's a mix between the parents and the child. So the two IDs and the two requirements are there.
Okay, great, thank you. Another question from Patrick. Hi, Mark. Thanks for the presentation. Can I ask, have you digitized DD mandates and distribution instructions?
No, not yet. So I know one of the things that, well, no, you can create on CU Online, you can create DDs, but it wouldn't be, I think I know where Patrick's coming from. We haven't digitized that process, but I know that Wellington are working on what I call forms to go into CU Online. So the other thing that we're kind of missing is nomination forms. Like that's another thing that we actually want available on CU Online, which is the ability for members to go in and add a nominee. But like Patrick was saying there about the DD, that's not fully digitized yet either.
Okay, thank you. Ashley says thanks for the template. Roisin says thanks. Has anyone else any questions? Feel free to unmute your microphone. There's another one. Hi, from Colin. Another one from Mark. When people look to join via online, how is the common bond requirement confirmed?
Well, when they submit their application to open an account, it is reviewed by a person just to make sure that the person does meet our common bond requirement, which is live or work in the area. So that's how we do it. So we do still have a person looking over these online applications.
Okay, thank you. Kate asks, for the pads that members use in branch to open accounts, are these attached to the desk or can the members hold them? Are they just standard iPads or tablets or specific banking ones?
They're just standard iPads. Any tablet would do. Like it's basically what we're going to go through with people. I suppose we're assisting them to use the digital service. So maybe it's somebody who wouldn't be technically savvy or doesn't like technology, but we'll guide them through the process. So it's kind of a assisted use of the digital products, if that makes sense. So especially with the digital onboarding, we'll guide them through the whole process on it. So we have the iPads. They're not sitting out where people can pick them up and walk out the door with them. We have the iPads here, and we'll go out and have a chat with you and go through the process.
Mark, are you scanning their documents then for them? Okay.
Yeah. So if any of you have gone through the onboarding process, the members actually have to, if they're doing it with their phone, they'll take a picture of it, or if they're doing it on their laptop or their desktop, they'll upload, proof of their ID or proof of their address. So we'd be just doing the exact same process with them with the iPad.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Rebecca. Sorry, it's Jennifer from Member Force Credit Union. Just a quick question, Mark. We'd have a large volume of transactions through CU onboarding as well. Just wondering, how do you encourage our members to actually get the first payment in online? Like we'd have a lot of we'd have maybe about 100 members per month that might join through onboarding, and then we give them 60 days to make a lodgement. And if they haven't made a lodgement, you're sending them out final reminders and stuff. But if they still haven't made it, then you're making the account suspended. So you're suspending the account. So
we're doing the same.
What way do you
we're doing the same process. I know that Wellington are looking at developing when somebody does make that initial application to open an account, that they'll be requested to make an initial deposit. That deposit will be held in situ until the application is actually being processed and then put into their account upon activation, if that makes sense. So like we've been pushing Wellington for that, because to me it just fully completes it, because like we would have people that don't make that initial deposit.
Yeah, so that's great. Thanks, Mark.
No
Sorry, Mark, can you repeat that again there? Just the initial deposit, where does that go?
It'll
Where
be I suppose like when somebody makes the application to open an account with us, they're not a member just yet until we accept them in. So I know Wellington are looking at developing the ability for at the application stage to make that initial deposit, and it can't go into an account until we onboard them, if that makes sense. So it would be held in stasis, I suppose, until we actually get the member onboarded. But it is, yeah, it's something that we push Wellington to develop.
Thank you. Another question from Emer. I think you mentioned this, Mark. Are core at a point where they have auto loan approval and auto loan payout?
We're not at the situation where the decision as a service is making the decisions. The only thing that we haven't actually switched on is that is then changing it onto Scion. But I know I've been in touch with Wellington on this, because that's the next process. The next part of this process is that it's once the decision as a service makes the decision, if that's a green tick, it'll change the loan from applied to approved. It'll issue out the credit agreement. Once the credit agreement gets signed on CU Online, it will then issue out the loan. So we're not right at that stage, but we're not too far away either.
Okay, that's great. Is it Roisin's just asked about getting a demo sent of digital onboarding. So yes, I'll send that out as part of the follow-up, just for anyone else as well who's interested. Pat asks, hi Mark, do you allow onboarding for joint accounts, club accounts, etc.?
Club accounts, I'm not too sure. I'll have to inquire about that. If we had the ability to open a joint account online, we would. I think there's it's not as easy as a single account. So it's not that we don't want to actually do it. We just don't have the ability to do it just yet.
Okay. Has anyone else got any other questions? Okay, I think we'll leave it there. As I said, oh, there's another one, sorry, for Mark. Great presentation. How are the loans assessed for ones you can make a decision online for?
Okay, so the decision as a service that we have it set that it can only do two options. It can only approve the loan, or it can refer the loan. So if it's within all of the parameters to approve the loan, it will approve it. That will be the recommended decision. If it's referred, then it'll actually be referred to one of our staff or one of our underwriters, who will actually assess the loan in the traditional method.
That's great, thank you. Okay, I think we'll leave it there. In terms of follow-up, I'll send out an email this afternoon with the recording of the session and Mark's gap analysis template, and also the digital member onboarding demo for anyone who's interested. And I'll also send out Andrew Price's contact details that he shared earlier, just if anyone has any questions for him in the future. He'd be delighted to get back to you. So I can't see him there. I know you were having camera issues earlier, Andrew, but I just want to say thanks so much, Andrew, and thanks so much, Mark. It was really, really great presentation, and thanks everyone for joining, and we hope you enjoyed it. And we'll send you an email this afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rebecca.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Cheers.